in the Morning. I'm your host, Meredith, with my co-host, Matt Diskin. And we're so excited for our new show. It's a media property is what we've coined it, a mini series. I guess we'll see if it gets extended. Knock on wood, senior partners at Denton's. But we're here today to talk about a High Court of Australia decision, because what we're going to be doing is talking about interesting media cases or trends in media law on the show. So this case out of the High Court of Australia, it came out last week in the interesting world of defamation in the internet. So Matt, what happened there?
Thanks, Meredith. It's an interesting case wherein you had, it's called Fairfax and Voller. You had 3 newspapers with social media pages. Now on these pages, they posted their stories. People could comment on their stories. People did comment on their stories. And when Mr. Voller found certain of those comments about him to be defamatory, and he took the position that, in fact, the newspapers were responsible for the comments made on them by whatever internet personalities chose to make them, and upheld liability on the part there of the newspapers. So that's what we're dealing with. We've now got in Australia a world where if you've got a hosted social media page, you're responsible for what people say on it.
So I'm of two minds on this case. On the one hand, I think, it's their social media page. They had the opportunity to control whether or not people could comment, and they could always remove comments that were problematic. But on the other hand, let's have a discourse. Let's allow people to engage in discussions about the media. And these news outlets have no ability to vet what people say. Are they supposed to be the judge and jury on every single comment? That's not practical. And what are they going to do about it? It's not like they have journalists where they review the article, they have a defamation read, they get the lawyers involved on those dicey topics. No, Joe Schmo in his basement doesn't have a journalism degree and has a valid comment or criticism that he should be allowed to say in a public way, given the way in which social media has really allowed people to engage in this discourse and get people interested.
Well, that's a nice way of sort of talking on both sides of your mouth, Meredith, but I think it's completely unreasonable. I think maybe there's an exception when someone puts up a comment to the effect of Meredith eats babies, but absent an extreme or hateful or pornographic kind of post, if something that could be true, it is an unbelievably ridiculous concept in my mind to put that responsibility on the part of a newspaper organization that's posting news stories. And to your point, this is absolutely about free speech. And what's going to happen is that these poor newspaper proprietors, and I know things aren't going great for the print media, are literally going to have a fewer shrimp on the Barbie because of this. And they now have to cut down further their access to market because they don't have the fleet of private investigators to send out and check every comment for truth or falsity. So it's gonna result in a curtailing of speech, and it's gonna harm this industry. So I think it's a pretty bad policy-based finding. I think it should go different in Canada because, as you may know, in Australia, they don't have this constitutional right to free expression or free speech. So maybe what are your thoughts then on how a Canadian court might look at this issue and how they might hopefully pivot away from this type of an approach?
Well, picking up on your point about the charter rights in Canada, that you have that freedom of expression, that really permeates through all of the defamation cases, and including in this, I would say the seminal case that would apply to this is Crooks and Newton, Supreme Court of Canada decision from about 10 years ago, where the court was considering whether or not sharing a hyperlink with content in the underlying website was defamatory, whether sharing the hyperlink was defamatory, and absent more, that just sharing the link is not defamation per se. And I think that's sort of similar, applying that sort of principle to this case. Canadian courts would probably go to say this isn't defamation because they're not actually commenting. The news publication isn't adopting what the comments are saying. They're just providing a platform for individuals to make that.
So Crooks and Newton goes further, I think, because you're almost promoting something when you share a hyperlink. You know, I'm saying, hey Meredith, go look at this. I'm not saying it's true or false, but I'm saying go look at it. In this context, I think the newspapers in question did nothing. They just put up a bulletin board, and someone went up and put, a dog for sale sign on it, right? So I actually hope in Canada that you're right, that Crooks and Newton will be the right trend. It is interesting that they cited Crooks and Newton, though, in this Fairfax case. And I don't know that they cited it fairly, so I mean, we can take that up with the Australian High Court later. But yeah, so takeaways from all this. Keep your eyes open for what happens in other jurisdictions, U.S., Canada, around this. We will be, and we'll be coming back to you with additional exciting mini episodes to get your mornings going as you commute in on the Don Valley Parkway or Gardiner Expressway or whatever other exciting
parking lots. You mean
use
parking lots?
Enjoy. Don't use the video version of it if you're doing that.
Also, as you can tell from Matt's accent, we are not licensed to practice in Australia, so that's for darn sure.
Good point. Internet. It's an internet property. So we have to be careful.
Oh, yes, indeed.
Okay.
So thanks so much for joining us. Tune in
Until
next time. Cheers.
Denton's is a global legal practice providing client services worldwide through its member firms and affiliates. This episode is not designed to provide legal advice, and you should not take or refrain from taking action based on this content. Please see dentons.com for legal notices.